All right, it's the other big story here at home. President Cyril Ramaphosa officially opening the Group of 20 Foreign Ministers Meeting yesterday with a call for cooperation amid geopolitical tensions and rising intolerance. Ramaphosa says nations around the world are looking at G20 for leadership and guidance in tackling a number of pressing global issues. Top diplomats from the world's largest economies have gathered in Johannesburg for these two-day talks that are being held in Africa for the first time. SABC News reporter Khayelihle Khumalo is part of our team watching this historic event. He joins us now live, and quite the sight to see a number of foreign ministers there, including that from Russia, of course, given the many issues around Moscow, the war in Ukraine, and how in some ways South Africa is entering that mix.
Well, very much so, and undoubtedly quite a very unprecedented time and a very momentous time for South Africa, as you have all these powerful ministers right in our shores. And of course, on the agenda, it's quite a number of issues being explored, from climate change to the issues of just energy transition. But what has been really interesting to observe, and is that South Africa is really pushing for Africa's inclusion into the global agenda. That has always been the emphasis. For example, when you go to the very overarching theme of equality, of sustainability, but also of solidarity, that South Africa is emphasizing that no one should be left behind. So it's been also very fascinating, really, time seeing all these ministers from our shores. And also these are very powerful economies. I mean, for example, they say that about 85% of global trade and almost like 75% of when you look at the global GDP, and almost 2/3 of the global population, those are all G20 countries. You look at the likes of South Africa here, right in the southern tip in the continent, the first African country, but also now you do have the African Union, but a number of countries as well from Asia. But what has also been very fascinating to observe is just a very interesting message that is coming from Team South Africa, the issue of consensus, saying that the world is facing all these challenges, from the geopolitical tensions. You spoke about Russia-Ukraine conflict. You have seen that President Cyril Ramaphosa has reached out to his Ukrainian counterpart, Volodymyr Zelensky, and now there's an indication that Zelensky might be coming to South Africa for a state visit. All of this really happens as the country is hosting this very important meeting. But also, I can tell you about the very interest, so many journalists from so many parts of the world, so you can really see that South Africa really is under scrutiny. But also pointing out really that this is almost like a dress rehearsal for November, where we do know it's going to be a culmination where the G20 leaders will come to South Africa. Obviously, a lot of questions about not Marco Rubio showing up, given their consternation over South Africa's land reform program. And South Africa has always been at pains to explain that it's all about redressing a very terrible history that we have here in South Africa. So there's no land grab or anything to that effect. But all of this is done in an orderly fashion, not to cause any disruption. But also a very interesting issue here, was the President Cyril Ramaphosa engaging with the media on the sidelines of this particular gathering, where he was speaking about a number of issues, the domestic issues in South Africa, in light of the budget speech being postponed, saying it's democracy in action. Talking about a number of examples, in fact, quoting the German situation, where we saw even the coalition government falling, and obviously they're headed for the elections now. So a number of interesting issues. But as for today, I am expecting, of course, this particular gathering to be wrapped up. And we do understand that South Africa's International Relations and Cooperation Minister, Ronald Lamola, will brief the media about some of the topical issues, because we do understand there won't be declaration here, but there are very issues of interest that they will just reaffirm. Ayanda?
Yep, absolutely get a sense that the laying of the foundation is now firmly underway. Khayelihle Khumalo live to us there from Nasrec as we anticipate day 2 of that G20 Foreign Affairs Ministers Meeting to get underway.